Hello and welcome to a new episode on What Does This Data Say? I am Ajay Prakash. Today, let's talk about why the North still votes for the Bharatiya Janata Party. North India today lives in a strange double life. On one side, the headlines are shining India, the world's fastest growing major economy. On the other side, people are quietly drowning in EMIs, rising grocery bills, and credit card debt. Reports say nearly 70% of Indian households now spend almost their entire income on essentials with little left for savings or small joys. Credit card defaults are up almost 30% in 1 year. Overdue dues up by 44%, and yet the malls look full because India's middle class consumption is running on credit, not comfort. By all logic, this should have produced a political backlash, at least in the Hindi belt, the North India. But at the ballot box, the same region still votes overwhelmingly for Modi's BJP. Why is that? Is the pain not real, or has it been overshadowed by something much larger, a story of identity, religion, and fear? Hindu Khatre mein hai. Let's unpack it. India's GDP still posts a respectable number, 8.2% in the financial year 23-24. But look closer and you will see the engine sputtering. For the quarter July to September 24, the official National Statistics Office (NSO) estimates show real GDP growth at 5.4% year on year. For the quarter January to March 25, growth was reported as 7.4%. And for the quarter April to June 25, the NSO estimates show that India's real GDP growth stood at 7.8% year on year. The reason for this upward trend is not because people are spending more or the economy has picked up. It is due to the so-called GDP deflator. We will talk about that some other day. And yet the urban consumers, the one who form the middle class backbone, are cutting back on fast food, travel, and even basic brands. In Noida, Gurgaon, Lucknow, Kanpur, small luxuries are being postponed. That new phone, maybe next year. Vacation, cancelled. Even the biscuit and coffee chains are reporting flat or declining sales. This is not a story of booming Bharat. It's a story of tightening belts. And yet, in political conversation, that discomfort disappears. The paradox is simple: economically squeezed, yet politically satisfied. For India's middle class, life today is one long credit cycle. Over 16 million new credit cards were issued in just 1 year. The average balance per card climbed to 32,000 rupees. That means every swipe at a mall, every Zomato order, every Amazon sale is being financed on borrowed money, and the stress is showing. RBI data says credit card defaults jumped 28% in 2024, touching 6,700 crores. A CRIF high mark report found delinquencies in the 91 to 180-day bucket rising from 6.5% to 7.6% in just 1 year. By March 25, overdue credit card bills touched 33,000 crores, a 44% jump year on year. So, what we see is vibrant consumer demand is in truth an illusion, a consumption bubble floating on credit. If you ask a salaried person in Delhi or Patna, they will tell you that their salary has barely risen in the last 2 years, but their expenses, Petrol, milk, school fees, EMIs have jumped far faster. It's not prosperity, it's pressure. But politically, this financial strain has not converted into anger because economic pain is being drowned by a louder emotional pitch that Hindu identity is under threat. Let's talk about something more personal, that is your kitchen. In 2023 and in 2024, India's official inflation averaged 4.5%. But step into any market and it feels like 15 to 20% on the things that actually matter. Cereals up by 11 to 12%, pulses by 13%, vegetables shooting through the roof, tomatoes crossed 200% year on year at one point in time. Edible oil, milk, LPG, bus fares all saw steady hikes. That's real inflation, the kind that doesn't show up in a TV ticker but hits every tiffin box. And then there is the imported inflation, the silent tax of a falling rupee. In 2014, $1 bought you 60 rupees. By 2025, it's close to 88 or 89 rupees per dollar, a record low. Every smartphone, laptop, TV, or a liter of fuel costs more because our rupee buys less. India imports 90% of its oil, most of its electronics, and even the edible oil used in cooking. So every dip in the rupee directly means higher household prices. Official inflation may be under control, but middle class India lives in a world where school fees, petrol, groceries, and rent all climb faster than incomes. That's Mehengai 2.0, and it has lasted one full decade. So, if wallets are empty, what fills the emotional vacuum? The BJP has mastered the politics of grandeur, of mega religious imagery. Take Yogi Adityanath's claim that 62 crore people attended the Kumbh, a number so absurd that even census maths can't explain it. And yet, for months, that number was repeated in speeches and TV shows as proof of Hindu devotion. Or take the Ram Mandir inauguration, presented not just as a temple opening but as civilization redemption, the closing of a 500-year wound. Across the north, from Prayagraj to Ayodhya, you hear a slogan morph into myth. हर मंदिर के नीचे एक मस्जिद छुपी है. A mandir under every masjid. A poetic but dangerous idea that creates a map of grievance in every city. This is not faith. This is weaponized memory. It converts local anger, crime, or unemployment into a bigger cosmic story. A thousand-year war finally being avenged under Modi and Yogi. In this atmosphere, who cares if tomatoes are at 120 rupees a kilo? Because a section of society now feels emotionally victorious even if financially defeated. The slogan Hindu Khatre mein hai is never always said directly. Love jihad, every interfaith marriage as an assault, land jihad, property disputes recast as religious conspiracies, population explosion, the myth of Hindus being outbred. Each story, repeated enough time, implants the same message. You are under threat. This works because fear is stronger than emotion. This works again. This works because fear is a stronger emotion than disappointment. Fear mobilizes, disappointment demobilizes. The BJP ecosystem understands this perfectly. Its messaging operates at two emotional frequencies. First is fear that Hindus are under siege from Muslims, liberals, and global conspiracies. Second is pride that under Modi, Hindus are finally reclaiming their lost glory. Fear alone tires people, pride alone feels hollow. Together, they create an addictive loop. It's psychologically rewarding and a moral high. Now, how does this narrative stay alive? Through saturation. Switch on Hindi TV any evening, the top debates are about a mosque, a Maulvi, a fatwa, a temple dispute, a love jihad case. These visuals are fiery, the anchors louder than the facts. This is not journalism, it's a daily soap of outrage. And it dominates the North because this is Hindi media territory. When was the last time you saw a prime time debate on credit card default, job stagnation, or rupee depreciation? Never, because those stories don't trigger anger or TRPs. On WhatsApp, the problem multiplies. Old videos of violence, fake demographic data, morphed clips all circulate with patriotic captions. Every event becomes proof of Hindu victimhood. The result? Millions live in a parallel universe where Hindus are constantly attacked even when they control the government, the police, the media, and the military. And in that universe, the vote is not about policy, it's about protection. The North's relationship with religion is shaped by memory. Partition, riots, temple movements, invasions, all concentrated here. Delhi remembers 1947. UP remembers Ayodhya. Bihar remembers riots. Punjab remembers migration. The Mughal versus Hindu story is not abstract here. It's familial folklore. When leaders say we suffered 1,000 years of slavery, it resonates because people see that history in their own soil. The South or the Northeast may not carry those wounds, but the Hindi belt does, and it makes them more receptive to identity politics. So when Modi says we have redeemed 1,000 years of humiliation, it's not a line, it's purification, it's catharsis. And that emotion easily overpowers anger over inflation or debt. Let's break down the psychology. Number one, pain hierarchy. Economic pain hurts, but identity pain cuts deeper. You can endure expensive groceries. You can't endure the idea that your religion or culture is losing. Second, emotional payoff. Supporting Modi gives many voters a sense of collective pride that at least our side is winning. It's less a vote for prosperity and more a vote for dignity. Third, framing the choice. Every election is framed not as whose policy works better, but on whose side are you. Once that happens, the economy exits the conversation. Fourth, simplicity versus complexity. The BJP offers a simple emotional narrative. They insult your gods, we protect them. The opposition talks in spreadsheets, GDP, MSP, inflation, GST, accurate but emotionally flat. In politics, clarity beats correctness. Number five, welfare cushion. Even as inflation bites, the BJP maintains direct benefit optics, free rations, toilets, LPG, Ayushman card. So the voters think Modi is helping us survive. While also defending our faith, it's a complete emotional package. Now, why the North India in particular? Firstly, the language and media dominance. The BJP's message is crafted in Hindi first. It's culturally coded for the North. TV anchors, slogans, speeches all operate in the same linguistic and emotional bandwagon. Second, caste to community shift. Decades of mandal politics fractured Hindu society along caste lines. The BJP cleverly replaced it with a larger Hindu unity frame. OBCs, Dalits, upper castes, all invited to unite under a religious umbrella. And third, the poorest see ration schemes, gas cylinders, free cash transfers. The middle class sees Ayodhya, Kashi, and expressways, G20 banners. Both will believe they are part of something grand. Fourth, opposition vacuum. The Congress is weak, regional parties are localized, none offering a unifying counter story or a confident Hindu identity that is not apologetic. So BJP remains the default emotional home to everyone. The outcome, even as real incomes stagnate, people vote not for what's in their pocket, but for what's in their heart. And right now, their hearts say Hindutva. So, what explains it finally? Here is the psychological equation that defines North Indian voter. Economic anxiety plus cultural pride minus opposition clarity is equal to BJP dominance. It's a simple equation. They feel poorer but also prouder. And in a world of emotional politics, pride usually wins. To them, Modi is not an economist, he is a protector, a symbol of sentinel faith. Even when the economy fails, his image as guardian of Hindu identity remains untouched. That's the genius or tragedy of this narrative. But I think this equilibrium is not permanent. You can't run a democracy forever on adrenaline. At some point, when the fear fades or the pride dulls, voters will again look at their bill in their hand, the EMI notification, the price of milk. If the next 5 years bring continued economic stress, joblessness, inflation, stagnant wages, even the strongest identity narrative can crack. The question is who will offer an alternative story, not just against Hindutva, but beyond it. A story of dignity that doesn't require fear, of pride that doesn't require division because the North is not permanently communal, it's emotionally mobilized, and emotion can change direction when a better story arrives. So the next time someone says the North will always vote for Modi, ask them, will the next generation still feel the same pride when their salaries stagnate, their rupee buys less, and their dreams shrink? Identity may trump economics for a decade, but eventually reality sends its own reminder. No government, however powerful, can feed a family on faith alone. I'm Ajay Prakash, reminding you that every number hides a narrative and every narrative hides a motive. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in the next episode.